Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And I am so excited today because we're going to be talking with my guest about something that I think every business owner complains about. We don't have time. We don't get to do the things that we want to do. And so my guest today is going to help us get back our time and be able to do what we want to do. So please join me in welcoming Mike Abramowitz to our program today. Welcome, Mike. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Deb. I appreciate it.
Perfect. Well, let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we will jump into this. So Mike Abramowitz I'm not saying it right, but that's all right. We're going to keep going. We'll just leave it out. Mike has 20 years of direct sales experience, training 5,000 plus sales reps for over $17 million sold. He has 9 books in the self-help space, and he founded PB&J for Tampa Bay. He has scaled his several 6-figure businesses and a nonprofit to be run without him so he can experience the freedom that he desires. He's a busy father and a husband who helps other busy entrepreneurs implement systems in their businesses by leveraging automation and delegation to help business operators become business owners and truly experience the financial and time freedom that drew them to entrepreneurship in the first place. He also has a podcast called The Better Than Rich Show and a community called Automate, Delegate, Systemize. So again, Mike, welcome. And please say your last name for us so that we get it right.
Yes, Mike Abramowitz, and really excited to be here. And you're right. We want to help people win back time, especially if you have a family and you also have a business. Man, sometimes we married the business, but we also married our spouse, and it's tough to separate the two because we love them both so much, right?
Right. Well, I always love knowing from my guests how it is that they got to where they are today. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I grew up in New Jersey, youngest of 8, and went to college in Florida, over in Tampa at the University of South Florida. Mm-hmm. And my dad owned a plumbing business my whole life. So he's 83 years old. He still works 6 days a week in his plumbing business.
In Jersey?
So in Jersey, yeah, still to this day. So super ambitious, extremely hardworking. And got my engineering degree in industrial engineering from the University of South Florida. Mm-hmm. I paid my entire way through college selling Cutco, the kitchen knives, with Vector Marketing student work program. So I paid my way through college. That was my footing into sales and self-development and personal growth, because a lot of the mentorship and the student development program there kind of entered me into that world. Upon graduation, I invested money I was earning through college, through sales. I had 3 rental properties that I owned and rented out during those
just out of college.
Yeah. So I bought my first house when I was 20, second at 21, and third at 22. The second one, my mom was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and unfortunately, she passed when I was 20. So the second one, I used her life insurance money, and that's what I invested that into. So my goal in those early 20s was just let me just get ahead, let me grind, work, set a strong foundation, so that way when I'm 40, I could retire and I could be a present father and a husband and all. Because my dad, as much as I love him, he's ambitious and worked hard, just kind of missed a lot of basketball games growing up. So I just wanted to be a little bit more available. But then the market collapse of 2008 kind of crushed me. So the rental properties went down. I was down to about a 400 credit score. I was negative $130,000 in debt. The relationship I was in for 7 years ended. It was, I call it the valley of my 20s. It was a pretty tough time.
Mm-hmm.
So in my direct sales business with Cutco and Vector Marketing, I stayed with them post college
Okay.
graduation and worked in owning my own company, my own
Mm-hmm.
office, recruiting other students to do
Mm-hmm.
what I did, which is pay my way through college. So that's why, I've trained over 5,000 people
Mm-hmm.
to sell. Ended up being right over $19.5 million before I just retired from the company after 20 years, a couple months ago,
Wow.
which is pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
And the challenges that I was experiencing in those 20s, I don't think is so foreign to a lot of people. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, sometimes circumstances happen with finances,
Mm-hmm.
relationship, unhealthy
Mm-hmm.
habits with eating, a lot of things. And then to kind of interrupt that pattern, I went to my first Tony Robbins event. So I'm a big Tony
Ah.
Robbins fan,
Mm-hmm.
and walked across fire. So I'm a 7-time fire walker now.
Woo!
And I've crewed with Tony and went to New Jersey and Miami
Mm-hmm.
and over in LA, and just been to a bunch of his events, crewed
Mm-hmm.
with him. He's fantastic. But at that first event, I learned that my mess is my message, and that was circa
Mm-hmm.
2012,
Mm-hmm.
2013. So I took the valley and everything, that all the crap that happened to me in my 20s, and I
Mm-hmm.
said, how might I be able to like turn that into something positive
Right.
for this next season of my
Mm-hmm.
life in my 30s? So that was the birthplace of PB&J for Tampa Bay, where
Mm-hmm.
we provided over 100,000 sandwiches and meals to the less fortunate in the Tampa Bay
Wow.
area.
Incredible.
And that year after Tony, 2013, 2014, I spent about 300 hours speaking at the school districts in Pinellas County, crafting my message of what that
Mm-hmm.
is and teaching and speaking to the students, which turned into my first book, Grab Tomorrow, Your Best Year Ever. And that I was really excited about that launch. We hit #1 on the Amazon list, and I turned that into a curriculum,
Mm-hmm.
teaching like goal setting and
Wow.
life skills in the school
Mm-hmm.
system. But the challenge was now I had my direct sales business, and then I'm doing like book signings and
Mm-hmm.
speaking engagements. And I wasn't able to really find time for that family and that
Mm-hmm.
wife and everything
Right.
that I knew I wanted. So I hired a business coach when
Okay.
I met my now wife. We started dating in 2014,
Mm-hmm.
2015. I was like, I got to do something. So I hired a business coach 2016 to help me figure out how can I like corporatize and
Mm-hmm.
systemize my business so I can have a little bit more time freedom,
Mm-hmm.
because he had an experience. He worked in India in a company that he helped scale from 6 million to 30 million,
Mm-hmm.
and had about a 1,400 person staff that was reporting
Mm-hmm.
to him. So he left that to come to the States to teach small business owners how to systemize their business. So
Ah.
I hired him. I was one of his students,
Mm-hmm.
and he taught me how to do that in my direct
Mm-hmm.
sales business. So 2016, 17, 18, 19, really dialing in these business systems,
Mm-hmm.
buying back my time. I launched the 9 books, and I started sunsetting some of that and realizing like, wow, let me just keep doing this direct sales thing,
Mm-hmm.
double down on it, went all in, and then COVID hit. And,
Oh, yeah. And you could no longer visit people.
correct. So
Mm-hmm.
what was cool is all the systems that we put in
Mm-hmm.
place for my business, which was like installing virtual assistants and offshore assistants,
Mm-hmm.
installing automation,
Mm-hmm.
installing different predictable systems. We essentially
Mm-hmm.
McDonaldified my business.
Right.
Um, and then COVID hit. It was all systems go. We provided over
Mm-hmm.
1,000 jobs that year.
Nice.
We went virtual with everything.
Mm-hmm.
We were poised for it, and we did about $2.5 million in sales that year, and just
Whoa.
absolutely crushed it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Like we absolutely did a great job. And on December 31st, 2020 was when my son was born, but he came a
Mm-hmm.
little early. He was born at 26 weeks.
Wow.
So he
So a
was
tiny
weighing,
little dude.
yeah, he was 1 pound, 4 ounces. And so we didn't know how long we were going to be in the
Mm-hmm.
hospital with him, but my wife left her corporate job,
Mm-hmm.
working for Bic Graphic, the pens,
Mm-hmm.
and she became a full-time medical
Mm-hmm.
mom, and our
Right.
son was in the hospital in the NICU for 254 days, so 8.5 months. And during that time frame, my business ran without me
Mm-hmm.
for those 8.5 months,
Mm-hmm.
and still produced $250,000 in revenue and 6 figures in profits because of those systems we
Mm-hmm.
installed.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we got to the hospital, September 10th, 2021, I called my coach and I said, everything that you taught me, I don't know where we'd be if we
Mm-hmm.
didn't do this. Do you think this is something we might be able to teach other people?
Right.
And said, let's find out. So that was
Mm-hmm.
the birthplace of Better Than Rich and what we're doing now, which is helping high earning
Mm-hmm.
business professionals buy back time by
Mm-hmm.
installing business systems and predictable outcomes with AI delegation into
Mm-hmm.
their business. So that way they could buy that time back and reinvest that time into what matters most
Mm-hmm.
to them. And we've helped hundreds of people now. And we have our clients and our students and our community that we've built on the back end of what I thought was going to be complete desperation with
Mm-hmm.
how do I replace my wife's income
Mm-hmm. Right.
as she became a full-time medical mom.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the full story. With that, we could unpack any piece of that that is relevant to your listener,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot. And that's why I
There
do these
is. Mm-hmm.
podcast guesting, because I feel like sometimes we get into different chapters and
Mm-hmm.
different seasons of life, and we think that that's how life is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a season, and
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how business is, whether
Right.
you're, doesn't matter where you're
Mm-hmm.
at. So that's a very long answer,
Oh, I
but,
love
back
it.
to you, Deb.
I love it. Well, the thing is, we have to adapt and change. And I think that's why so many businesses fail. And COVID was obviously a huge example of that. That, businesses could not adapt. And they, for whatever reason, maybe it was that they didn't have enough financial reserves. They didn't have the right people in the right things. I mean, I always, joke partially that every micromanager who wanted to be able to touch his people that reported to him, those people just their little heads exploded because they couldn't reach out and touch their employees anymore, right? But it it the we always, I always like to tell people, prepare for things in advance. We need to do the Boy Scout motto of be prepared. Now, clearly, you weren't planning on COVID, but you knew, I love that you mentioned the fact that you knew that your business could continue without you. And that's funny because that's kind of an ego hit, right? Because, well, we're the business. But it gave you the ability that, as you said, your business went on merrily without you, and you were able to dedicate the time needed to your wife and your son, which was obviously the highest priority.
Yeah. You said it best. There's a JFK quote: "The best time to work on the roof is when the sun is shining."
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, if I didn't spend the resources
Mm-hmm.
and have intentions of putting these systems in
Mm-hmm.
place prematurely,
Mm-hmm.
there's no way that we would have been able to do what
Right.
we've been able to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, my counsel that I received and the counsel that I offer is really thinking about when is now a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And usually it's not going to be during the season
Mm-hmm.
of
Right.
unpredictability.
Yeah. If you're having to
You-
play catch up, you're
Yeah.
in a bad place.
Yeah. So if you're in a place right now where you're listening to this right at this moment, it's
Mm-hmm.
probably a good season for you to say, all right, let me question all of the processes of
Mm-hmm.
my business. Let me
Right.
question my systems. Let me question all my if
Mm-hmm.
thens. Let me question the user experience for my clients and
Mm-hmm.
also for the talent that I'm in bringing
Mm-hmm.
into my business. Question the entire process, reverse engineer it,
Mm-hmm.
start to finish, forwards and backwards, and
Mm-hmm.
just see if there what friction points there are.
Right.
Where is there any type, we call
Mm-hmm.
them friction points, but any
Mm-hmm.
type of hiccup, any type
Mm-hmm.
of
Right.
inconsistency, anytime the experience is not meeting
Mm-hmm.
expectations. And once we kind of poke around and really question that as
Mm-hmm.
business owners, then we can say,
Mm-hmm.
where can I install team or tech
Mm-hmm.
to create more
Right.
predictability?
Mm-hmm.
And from that place, then we say, great, how can I create a policy or a
Mm-hmm.
playbook that that team and tech can follow?
Mm-hmm.
So the system, the playbooks, the team and the tech all
Mm-hmm.
kind of work together. But we also need to make sure that the business owner understands what their priorities are,
Right.
because the priorities, the business is not your life. The
Mm-hmm.
business is a vehicle to pursue your life.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to know what are the boundaries around which you want to
Mm-hmm.
build your life around. So, um, and all of this is a framework that I call the time rich six. And then, we could unpack that and go in any direction, but
Mm-hmm.
this is what I love to bring to business owners
Mm-hmm.
and most people. But someone who's interested in business is really who I
Mm-hmm.
really think this is most relevant to, because
Right.
they're in control. If they're
Mm-hmm.
working for someone
Mm-hmm.
else, they have a little bit
You don't
less
have as much
control.
freedom to be able to
Yeah,
do some of these
exactly.
things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I talk with a lot of business owners, and on this program, we've talked with a lot of people about how to become a business owner. And, you go into business because there's something you love, right? And you think, hey, I want to do this. Now, sometimes we're forced into it. Oops, got laid off. Well, okay, maybe I'll start a business. But for the most part, it really is that we love whatever it is. We don't love the paperwork, the invoicing, all of those things. And the sad thing is, so many people think they have to do those things as the business owner. And when you tell them, no, you don't. Now, part of it, they'll go, oh, that costs money. And it does, let's be honest, and especially, some of these things now, in some cases, it might be more, in some cases, it might be less, but it is going to cost something. But you're getting back the most important thing. And you mentioned it, that time. You are getting back time to either do what you love in your business, to go to the movies with your kids, to do whatever it is, and not be invoicing, all of those things that business owners go, I hate doing this part.
Well, there's a great resource that's helped me a ton contextualize this, and it's one of
Mm-hmm.
my favorite books that I highly recommend. It's called Buy Back Your Time by
Mm-hmm.
Dan Martell.
Mm-hmm.
And Dan talks about a couple of different things that I'll share with your listener right
Mm-hmm.
now. The first one is the 10-80-10 principle. So the
Okay.
10-80-10 principle is I do the first 10%, the middle 80% is done by team and tech, and then I do the final 10%.
Nice.
That's the first part. He also
Mm-hmm.
says in the book that 80% done by somebody else is 100% awesome. So
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing he says in the book. And another thing he talks about in the book is the replacement ladder, which is
Mm-hmm.
what are the tasks that we want to replace
Mm-hmm.
first? And the first is administrative,
Right.
because
The
administrative is
stuff
the
that really
lowest.
can be automated or outsourced.
Of course, it's the lowest value.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people that are thrilled to do that.
Right.
It's just that you can pay, I know
Mm-hmm.
this is all around the world, but you could pay a lower wage
Mm-hmm.
to somebody else to do
Mm-hmm.
administrative. What is
Right.
administrative? That's social media, inbox management,
Mm-hmm.
calendar management,
Mm-hmm.
video editing, graphic designs. I mean, these are the types of things, like you said, invoicing, bookkeeping,
Mm-hmm.
any of those types of things that are administrative, data
Mm-hmm.
entry, CRM management,
Mm-hmm.
um, that could be offloaded to that's administrative. And then from there, there's marketing and fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
Within marketing and fulfillment, there's probably some administrative too, but then you offload those. Those are expert level in
Mm-hmm.
some cases, where if we're going to delegate, there's a follow me. I'll show you how to do it. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's been there, done that's.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. Either both of those have a different
Mm-hmm.
cost. If I'm a business owner, though, I'm going to do all of this
Mm-hmm.
until I want to buy back my time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to then hire this person, not so I could go make a sandwich, but so that way I could spend my time on the
Right.
higher value
Mm-hmm.
activities, which are sales and leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Sales to drive revenue,
Mm-hmm.
and leadership, strategy,
Mm-hmm.
strategic partnerships, redesigning, working
Mm-hmm.
on the business versus in the business,
Mm-hmm.
concepts of like strategy of what I just mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
questioning all the if thens, finding
Mm-hmm.
friction points, finding maybe there's a higher tier offer that we could bring
Mm-hmm.
into the business. Maybe there's getting a little bit more clarity on who the avatar, the ideal client is that you're looking to market
Mm-hmm.
to, questioning the entire prospect journey and the client journey. What are ascension offers to
Mm-hmm.
create higher lifetime values with your clients? I mean, there's so much that the business owner can do to work on the business,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes they're so stuck in the weeds of doing the in the business work. So
Right.
so I push back on the scarcity mindset of like, oh, I got to pay for that. It's like you're either paying for that with your time,
Mm-hmm.
and now your time is dedicated to low value
Mm-hmm.
tasks, and
Right.
it's being pulled from the high value
Mm-hmm.
tasks, or take your money, offload the low value tasks, and then dedicate your time to the
Mm-hmm.
high value tasks. So we offset that. So I always like to start off with a dollar per hour audit.
Mm-hmm.
So a time audit, and
Mm-hmm.
this is a free resource that any of your listeners I'd be glad to give to, but
Mm-hmm.
I have a 25 page, it's time audit. It
Mm-hmm.
start with a dollar per hour, and then all the low value activities and all the
Okay.
high value
Mm-hmm.
activities. But let's say somebody wanted to make, and I'll just pick a number. I know it's currencies all around the world, but let's say $300,000 for the year. And if they want to make $300,000 for the year, we say, how many hours a week do I want to work in exchange for 300,000? So if
Right.
someone said, I want to work 40 hours a week. Great. How many weeks a year do you want to work? I want to work 48 weeks. I want to take 4 weeks off. Okay. So we take 40 times 48. That's 1,920 hours. So if I want to make $300,000 divided by 1920, that means my hour is worth $156 per hour. So now I look at $156 and I say, what are my tasks that are below that dollar per hour? And what are my tasks that are worth above $156? And now it's just an audit. And if you ever have a question on that, just go to like Indeed.com and look up administrative assistant. It's going to be a lower than $156.
They're probably not $156 or they're really, really good, right?
So that is that way the business owner can work in their genius, what brings them energy and also what brings them revenue.
Right. And joy. I think that's the other thing is we get so caught up in the weeds that it's not fun anymore. I think that's one of the things that people tell me the most about why they're not in business anymore. It wasn't fun. And that's because they're doing all of those administrative tasks and so many things that they don't need to be doing.
Well, here again, business is a game. Okay. And I truly believe that. And just like any game, there's a scoreboard on how to win that game.
Right.
And a business owner needs to understand, regardless of what business you're in, what is your metrics of keeping score? Is it sales? Is it revenue? Is it profit? Is it, whatever it might be, there's a scoreboard. So we need,
and
as
we
a business
keep score,
owner,
folks. This is not, we get class participation time.
No, we need to know. We need to know what is the scoreboard. You create the rules for your business. So it's like we could go in any business, does not matter. Any business, there is a scoreboard. We call those KPIs, key performance indicators, right? So whatever that number is, whatever drives that number is the business owner's responsibility. Period, full stop. Everything else is a supporting role. The business owner drives the score and puts team in place to support. We keep it as simple as that. So if the business owner is doing playing a supporting role to their business, they're really not a business owner. They're essentially an operator. They're essentially just have a job.
They're the manager, coordinator.
And that's okay, but that's why they might leave that business because the saying somebody might quit a 9 to 5 to work a 24/7. And that's what a lot of these they call themselves business owners, but really they're not owning a business. They just have a glorified job, and instead of having a boss, their new boss is all of their staff and all of their clients.
And we hear it. The business owns them.
Sure. Yeah. And we don't want that. We don't want that. It doesn't have to be that way. We just got to look at it differently. And I'll give you an example. When I was in my direct sales business, I felt like there was no escape because every single person was trying to get in touch with me, Deb. So I had over 1,000 people buy Cutco from me. So all my clients that wanted to buy Cutco, they had my personal cell phone number. So
and they wanted 24/7 availability.
Sure. And they could get in touch with me. They could get my attention at any point in time. Then I had these recruits that were looking for a job. They were also had my phone number saying, hey, I need a job. And then I had the current team who was selling Cutco. They had my phone number saying, hey, I need help with my job. So I had 3 different parties coming in to grab my attention 24/7. So it constantly put me into reaction mode. So if we build a business like I did in my 20s, where I built the infrastructure of my business, where I am the bottleneck, that's the problem. So the problem isn't the business. The problem is the infrastructure, the system, the playground in which the business was built. That's what I mean by questioning all the if-thens. So then we peel back. It's like, what are all the scenarios as to How could I replace,
Mhm.
what are the communication guidelines
Mhm.
and the boundaries I want to put in place for my customers, for my recruits, and also for my team?
Mhm.
If someone needed my attention, it was an emergency, is different than if somebody needed my attention because they had a quick question,
Right.
which is different from someone who, wanted to schedule a
Mhm.
time for us to have a longer conversation. So
Mhm.
it's like all these different scenarios. I just had to come up with what are the scenarios and
Mhm.
what are the plays for each of those scenarios,
Mhm.
just like a football team.
Mhm.
It's like, you have a playbook with
It's
all these
fourth
different
down. What the heck
plays.
are we going to
What
do?
play are we
Mhm.
going to call? But we premeditate what are the
Mhm.
plays. We have a playbook
Mhm.
and filled with all these plays, and then you pull a
Mhm.
play as it's needed.
Right.
And that's what a business owner needs to do. Figure
Mhm.
out all the scenarios, create their
Mhm.
playbooks, and then put
Mhm.
them into play to create these communication guidelines for their business.
Right. And the trick is, on that same line, you want to have everything going well. You do not want to be doing and having to rely on a Hail Mary every single time, because that's not going to work. You're going to
Mm,
get it every once in a while. And the rest of the time you're going to be playing catch up and get so far behind it that you can't catch up. It's I love that you talk, that your community is called Automate, Delegate, Systematize, because there are so many things in what we do that can be automated, delegated, and systematized. I tell people I hate invoicing. That's why I always bring it up. It's just one of those things. I mean, I actually had clients contact me and say, you haven't billed us in a while. That's embarrassing, right?
mm,
And good on them that they actually said, hey, you haven't done this for a while. And so when I discovered that I could go into QuickBooks, because that's just what I use, and automate my monthly billing, lights went on, the angels sang. Now, this was some stupid thing, but it took me, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes to set it up. It was not because it's all the same, it's repetitive. And, and it's like, okay, the last day of the month, this goes out. If they haven't paid by X, it's automated that they get a reminder. I mean, all of these things, and that's just built into the system. But that freed up hours of my time, because otherwise it was like, oh, and like I said, I'd put it off.
mhm,
And so I think that's one of the first things that many people need to think about is, what can they automate?
mhm. The way I like to think about automation or AI or any of
Mm-hmm.
these technologies,
Mm-hmm.
any of these tools,
Mm-hmm.
they're like the last thing that we install into the
Right.
business, because there is always going to be a
Mm-hmm.
solution. So realistically, what happened for you, Deb, in that scenario
Mm-hmm.
was you're like, there's gotta be another way of getting this
Mm-hmm.
invoicing done,
Right.
is the question that was on the table.
Mm-hmm.
So what are other ways that this invoicing could get done in a more efficient, effective way? And
Mm-hmm.
here's a solution to it. I think about it. I think about any type of technology solution as and anytime there's resistance to a tech solution, the analogy I use is a cell phone, because a lot of us might remember the flip phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the only
Right.
thing the flip phone was for was making a phone call.
Right.
But if we had to remember, if we needed directions somewhere, we had like
Mm-hmm.
either a paper map, and if we were
Mm-hmm.
lost, we would
Mm-hmm.
have to go drive to the
Mm-hmm.
gas station nearby and ask them, how do I get
Yeah.
to my
Mm-hmm.
destination? The automation tool that you just said is
Mm-hmm.
called now on a cell phone a GPS.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like the GPS is some mystical, magical
No.
thing. It just makes it so
Mm-hmm.
much easier to
Mm-hmm.
do what you could still go. Someone could still have a
Right.
paper map and go to the
Mm-hmm.
gas station, ask the guy for help. But the GPS is just so much
I
easier,
know.
and it's right at your fingertips.
Right.
And that's essentially what technology
Mm-hmm.
and automations can
Mm-hmm.
do for every business owner for all different
Mm-hmm.
aspects. So, um, I highly recommend a couple of
Mm-hmm.
different items, like a scheduling
Mm-hmm.
software, meaning
Oh
like
yeah.
anytime someone wants to get on
You
your,
you used our scheduling software to set up this interview.
very important, having, if
Well,
somebody wants to get on your
mhm.
schedule, having a different
Yeah.
event for a different type of purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, that's one of the biggest time wasters in the world. So, hey, Mike, will Tuesday at 2 work?
Oh yeah.
No, that won't work. How about that? And pretty soon you've forgotten why you contacted them, or it got lost in your spam. When you use, and there's multiple versions, I love them all. because they all do different things. So, it's kind of with, some are free, some are paid, all of that stuff. But just to eliminate those stupid back and forth emails, it's like, oh my God, again, the lights came on, the angel sang.
Yeah. Another great one is a learning management software.
Mm-hmm.
So if you find yourself repeating yourself, then you want to record yourself. So recording yourself with videos and then putting them into some sort of
frequently
like
asked
a
questions
Kajabi or Thinkific or something like that. And that becomes an FAQ. Or if you have a course, if you run a business and you have a course, instead of hosting it on a YouTube that's not like as organized, you put it into like some sort of learning management software that's a little bit more easy for a curriculum. Also internal communication with your team. What we use is Slack, but if you want to have internal communication with your clients or your team, using a platform where you can delegate easily. So if you are using like text message, iMessage to communicate with your team, or email, the challenge is it's a little bit more difficult to delegate to someone else, is what I found, and also for quick hitting. So I like using a technology like a WhatsApp or Slack or GroupMe or Circle or something like this. So these are just a couple of simple ones. And then of course you get like AI in there. We all know ChatGPT exists, but there's so many different use cases for GPT. And one of the best ones that we use for our AI powered virtual assistant team is using the tone analyzer and the writing style. And
I know.
what we could use on that
Make
is really
this
great.
more humorous. Make this just simple things like that.
So to take that even a step further, Deb, what our team does for every one of our clients, we have somewhere between 60 and 70 clients that use our services, and we will take their tone, their writing style from blogs they wrote, books they wrote, long form content that they wrote, and we will train the AI on that writing style and say, I want you to respond in this writing style and in this tone, create more content like this, respond to this email like this, send a message to this person in that tone. So that way, all of these business owners can have a virtual assistant sounding like them, acting like them. It's just not being sent by the business owner. So that's been a game changer for me. And then you pair that with like even video editing softwares with AI to take podcast interviews. I've been on 60 podcasts. So taking those shows, chopping them up in a more efficient way and a little bit more effective, repurposing them into reels, and then coming up with captions and hashtags that are optimized. So the AI has truly been a game changer, but it's just, again, it's like the cell phone.
It's a tool,
but having that human component to know how to use that GPS or how to use that tool is still needed. So having those two together, human powered by AI, we call it AI powered virtual assistants or AI powered delegation, has been an absolute game changer for me and also for our students.
And for people who just had heart attacks when we were talking AI, it is a little scary. And folks, let's be honest, this has been around a long time. This is not something that just happened in the last year or so. We've had versions of this.
We just have access now.
Right. But what it is doing is exactly what Mike is saying. It's freeing us up to do other things. It's, it's not, maybe it's taking somebody's job, but it's freeing them to do something else. Maybe it's freeing them, because they didn't like doing that part. So now they get to do something else, and I think we're going to see a lot of, back and forth on all of this, but, I love it. I mean, I take like a paragraph that I have written for a marketing thing, and I'll put it in Chat GPT, and all I will say is, please rewrite this marketing paragraph. It's always better than what I originally wrote, which I'm not sure what that says about what I write, but yeah, it's, and I read it and I go, whoa, don't I sound impressive? Right.
It's so there is a little bit of a dance here, because as a business owner, we do want to maintain our own voice. We want to maintain the way we're speaking to our audience. So there is that dance where I do highly encourage anybody that's listening to train the AI in your tone. So in your example, Deb, I would say, describe my writing style the way, so if you say in addition to making this better,
Mhm.
I would pair it with describe my writing style. How
Mhm.
is this written?
Mhm.
And then it will tell you this is in a professional, fun tone. It
Mhm.
has a casual undertone to it.
Mhm.
And then it's like, tell me more about this.
Right.
Tell me more about this writing
Mhm.
style. What else do you need to know about this writing style? Really
Mhm.
train it like
Mhm.
you would train a human
Right.
to learn and understand. And then you say what you said, which is like, great, in this writing style that
Mhm.
you now know,
Write this.
can
Mhm.
you rewrite what I sent to you
Mhm.
with this tone
Mhm.
as an example? And then that way it's impressive,
Mhm.
but it stays with the
Mhm.
consistency of you as a brand
Mhm.
of what it means to be you. So, because I'll tell you right now, most, not mo, most sophisticated individuals can sense if it's a bot.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right.
So
Oh,
I
I
called
love
the, I
those because
call
I
it the
like to trip
sniff
them up.
test,
Right.
the sniff test, right? So
Mhm.
if somebody has just very generic copy,
Mhm.
that's being created by AI that
Mhm.
they're just posting on their emails or social media or
Mhm.
whatnot, it's not going to be it's not going to land,
Mhm.
it's not going to get the response from the
Right.
marketplace. So that's why I recommend making sure that we train the
Mhm.
AI to sound like us. So
Mhm.
it's not very difficult at all, and I'm sure there's tons of videos of learning how
Mhm.
to do that. But if that's something that somebody would want some help
Mhm.
with, of course that's something we can have a conversation
Right.
around. I'd be glad to have that convo, but it's not hard.
Mhm.
It's just one or two extra steps,
Mhm.
and sometimes we don't want to do that work. It's just like, here's the
Right.
quick thing, just give me
Mhm.
what I want.
Mhm.
So I
Right.
encourage,
Mhm.
I highly encourage, if you're in
Mhm.
business, use the AI. Don't be scared of it, but
Mhm.
make sure that you're understanding
Mhm.
how to use it appropriately in the best way
Mhm.
possible. It's evolving by the day,
Right.
so it's hard to be
Oh yeah.
fully up to date.
Yeah. And new tools, new software, I mean, all
Always.
sorts of things. And it is a little scary. I mean, when it does some of these things. But to me, I also think, whoa, this is cool.
It is.
I like it when it types. I'm like
I too.
watching it type. I'm the kid with bright, shiny objects. But it will, when I put in the right prompts and things like that, it will do in 30 seconds at the most. It's probably like 10 seconds, right? What would have taken me hours to do, and it's done it better. And I love that, because then, yeah, I've got this time to go do whatever it is that I want to go do.
It's and just a small use case. It's so sophisticated now where I said this morning my Fitbit just died, like it's not working
Oh
anymore.
no.
So I went into GPT and
Mm-hmm.
I said, I want you to search the internet
Mm-hmm.
for up to date up to date step tracker and sleeping tracker
Mm-hmm.
watches that are similar to the Alta Fitbit
Mm-hmm.
HR that
Right.
are under
Mm-hmm.
$150. See what you can find.
Mm-hmm.
And it took its time, searched, and gave me four options. I went and looked at the four options to
Mm-hmm.
see if what they are,
Mm-hmm.
Google them real quick to make sure they match. Boom,
Mm-hmm.
I bought one of them,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll be delivered tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah, through
So through Amazon
mhm.
Prime. What's the point of that? The point of
Mhm.
that is what I initially was going to do is
Mhm.
like, all right, let me go to Google and research.
Mhm.
And I started doing that. I started like
Right.
Googling it myself. I'm like, I don't want to
Right.
look at this. I don't want to
Because
spend
then
the
you would have
time.
gotten sidetracked. Oh, okay. Well, this one
Oh,
does this, and hey, and then pretty soon you forgot what you were doing.
yeah. So this was a
Mhm.
great simple use
Mhm.
case that I just did this morning. I mean, I spend more time on GPT going
Mhm.
back and forth on business ideas, ways to things
Mhm.
like what questions can you ask me in order to curate a little bit more clarity on
Mhm.
blank?
Mhm.
And like it'll just ask me a bunch of questions, and I
Mhm.
fill in the answers to those
Mhm.
questions about my high ticket offer,
Mhm.
about the avatar who I'm marketing to.
Mhm.
I mean, there's so many of these types of examples I'm trying to think of off the
Mhm.
top, but it is such a great
Right.
assistant. It's a great
Mhm.
coach. It's a great soundboard.
Mhm.
I love it. I love the prompt of ask what
Mhm.
else am I missing here?
Mhm.
Ask me more questions to help me get
Right.
even more clarity
Mhm.
about this. So
Right. It's funny. I have a friend that teaches how to use AI. And obviously she's just started this within about the last 6 months. But one of the things, and I thought this was the weirdest thing in the world. She said, talk to it like it is a person. And, we're, typing, or, however you're doing it. And she said, be polite and say thank you. And she said, you will get different responses. And so I started, and it was true. It was like, it was very, it was, but, it was very brusque and businesslike. But when I would say, thank you so much, it would, now it is programmed in there, folks, to say, you're very welcome. Right. But it was so strange when I was polite to it, it seemed to, it seemed to treat me better. Like I said, I'm the kid with bright, shiny objects.
One other fun thing, if you haven't done this yet, I do a lot of journaling.
Mhm.
So I'll take a picture of my journal
Ah.
and send it into GPT, so it
Mhm.
types it out for me.
Ah.
That's one really like
Mhm.
cool thing. So that way
Mhm.
my handwritten stuff is
Mhm.
now text.
Mhm.
Another thing that I do with it is if I have an image
Mhm.
and one of my assistants creates a graphic design,
Mhm.
like an image,
Mhm.
I'll say, what can make this image even better
Mhm.
for this type of audience?
Right.
And you could post images and it can
Mhm.
it's helping our internal
Mhm.
team just give feedback,
Mhm.
giving feedback on pictures that
Mhm.
you can use now. It's super helpful. And then there's other AI tools
Mhm.
outside of GPT where it does video footage
Right.
and creating
Mhm.
videos and whatnot. But
Mhm.
lots of use cases. Again, if you're a business owner, can't emphasize enough. It's not like a foreign concept
Mhm.
at this point for most people
Mhm.
that I come across in business. Now it's like, how do I
Mhm.
maximize its potential?
Right.
Me, I'm not on the cutting edge. Like someone asked me, it's like, well, what's the cool new AI that you guys are using?
Mhm.
I'm like, I have a team that does
Yeah.
that. You
And
know, that's
you still use Chat GPT, which has
I
been
use,
around, what,
yeah.
a year? I mean,
Yeah. Oh, I can't, it's like going
Mhm.
back to life before GPT.
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't get
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, it frees me up. When
Yep.
I started working, I have an initiative to deal with people or help people who have cancer, or anyone who is supporting them. So of course, you want to have a blog, right? For a year, I wanted to have a blog. And when I finally thought, okay, I'm going to use Chat GPT, and I use the free version, but for what I'm wanting, it works fine because I'm not pulling in current data, and all of those things. But when I would say, okay, I want to write a blog post about this and this and this, it went boogity 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 and it wrote the blog post. And then I go back in and I personalize it, right? That word's not a word I would use, or all of those things. But I went from staring at a blank computer screen for a year to having actual work done.
Yeah. And that's the 10-80-10. You did
Mhm.
the first 10% by
Yeah.
giving it a prompt. It did the
Hmm.
middle 80%, and then you put
Hmm.
your final 10% touch on it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about it, that it is a virtual assistant. There are actual people who are virtual assistants also. And it's one of those things that I think so many people are hesitant to do. They want, because they think, well, I need an employee. Well, maybe you need a couple hours a week, right? My producer for this program is a virtual assistant. She has been with me for 4 years, 5 years, so long that we're just attached to the hip now. But it's exactly what we've been talking about. She does the things that need to be done that I don't want to do. Could I do them? Yes. I used to have to before I hired her. But she does them. And here's the thing, folks, she does them better than I would have done.
Oh, big time.
Mhm.
And that's the human element, the virtual assistant. I would
Mhm.
not call AI a virtual assistant. I would put AI under the umbrella of technology more
Right.
so than
Mhm.
virtual assistant personally,
Mhm.
but it depends on what you want to call it.
Mhm.
When I think about virtual assistant, I think about a human
Mhm.
assistant
Right. That person,
that
my
that
Kim.
that works virtually, right? So that
Mhm.
works virtually, that's on the computer on
Mhm.
demand. But these humans are
Mhm.
really a key part because the
Mhm.
technology can only go so far.
Right.
So the technology can create something, but
Mhm.
we still need the human sometimes to click the
Mhm.
button or the human to send it
Right.
to the appropriate
Mhm.
location, to do that final 10% to fix it up a little
Mhm.
bit. So for me, I personally at this moment while I'm here talking with you, I
Mhm.
have probably 12 or 13 virtual
Mhm.
assistants like you said Kim, is that
Right.
what you said?
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah,
The
just like
lovely and
Kim.
talented Kim.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I have just to give you an example, I have someone right now researching podcasts that they think I should be on. I have someone else emailing those podcast hosts
What that happened
to
clearly.
get me on their shows
Mm-hmm.
or introduce me to them at least. I have someone else in my Facebook inbox right now finding prospects on Facebook that might be a good prospect that I should connect with. Same on LinkedIn, same on Instagram.
Right.
I have someone else in my email, my Gmail, and my Outlook emails, managing those inboxes and making sure that that's being cleared out every single morning and evening. If anyone's requesting resources or documents, sending those things over, booking up my appointments on my schedule, rescheduling things if they need to get scheduled. So those are a couple of examples. Then we have our own podcast. So we have somebody else that's producing the podcast, somebody else who's taking those episodes, turning them into short reels, someone else getting captions and posts from those episodes. So there's this whole orchestra, a whole orchestra of humans that are getting things done using AI as a tool, but the humans are able to work way more efficient. And that's essentially what we created with our service for that reason. It's like a one-stop shop of operations. That's what they do for me. And we just offer this to other business owners to like, here's this one-stop shop of a whole team of virtual assistants that can use AI to help you get stuff done if you need.
And it's perfect because, most of those people that you just talked about, that was not an 8-hour day worth of work. It might have been an hour, might have been 2, whatever you need. Right. But, and then they go and they do the same thing or something different for somebody else. I mean, and so it's definitely a win-win, because they've got maybe 4 or 5 people that they're working with and, on a variety of, so they've got lots of variety, right? So that's always fun. But, I discovered because I had several VAs that didn't work out. They didn't work out and it was my fault. These were wonderful people. These were talented people. These were knowledgeable people. But when I finally figured out, okay, what I needed to do was exactly what you were talking about in the very start. I needed to basically create a job description and then say, I need you to do this and this and this and this. Here is the template email that you send. Here is the template response that you send. Now, and when I did that, I allowed them to be successful. And then, of course, what I said was, as you're doing this more and more, you'll find better ways to do it. Maybe they kept getting the same question over and over again. Okay, well, then you build that into the emails, all of those things. And so part of that was that, Kim, as I said, the lovely and talented Kim, who I could not do without, she can look at it and go, okay, I answered this same question 8 times. Maybe I need to actually put that in the email. And she knows she doesn't have to ask me. She doesn't have to run it. She just does it. And so that's the other thing, because we would empower our employees to make those decisions, our full-time, I'm putting that in my little air quotes, employees. They're our employees also. They're just not working for us 40 hours a week.
Yeah. And with here's the short version is, I had my first team of virtual assistants that I sourced from Fiverr and Upwork.com. So my books, my logo of my books, the copy editing for my books,
Fiverr's a great resource.
Kindle, the direct publishing, the formatting, all of that was done through Fiverr and Upwork. It just took me a lot of time to find the quality people, to make sure I vetted them, to make sure they were reliable,
and
all of
English
that.
speaking,
all of
because
it.
that all depends. Yeah.
But a lot of it was low cost. So it was low dollars,
Right.
but it was high time commitment to find the right
and if
people.
you had to redo it, then that was, not going to work at all.
But eventually I went the full other way where I paid a company $2,500 to find me a talented person, got me my talented person. But then it was like you said, I had to give her a bunch of stuff that I didn't have built out. I didn't have processes. I didn't have the templates.
It was in your head.
Sure. So I had to I was paying her. I paid this company just to have someone sit on the sidelines for a little too long, where I wish I had a little bit more predictable, tools or solutions for her. And then as she grew with me, I would have a list of like 15 items that I wanted to get done. And she was the bottleneck because she could only do one thing at a time. So then I went to like Indeed and hired
Right.
internal
We need
team.
more.
I needed more. So let me go hire internal team, interview them, train them, hire them, onboard them, pay their taxes, all of that. And then they would quit. And then I got to do that whole thing all over again. So that's essentially what we built for me was an account manager model where I give my stuff that I need to one person, and that one person has a team of 30 to
Right.
40 people that
And
are
they do whatever
specialized,
they magic they need to do.
whatever. And so that's essentially what we built for me with those like 12 or 13. And now we have this team that we do this for our clients. And it's been so powerful. And anybody that's listening, you don't need our service by any means. You could go in any of these directions. But the big aha that I would love for you to get is that we saw a problem and a need in the marketplace based on the pain that I saw, the pain on the
Right.
high cost of time, the pain of high cost of dollars, and the pain of having to, do the whole process, find good people, and then do it again when they quit.
Right.
We built our
Yeah, you
business
have vetted all of them.
to solve a problem that is to make it a one-stop shop, that we have qualified trained people, we have these things in place. So somebody who just wants a convenient option, boom, they could come to Better Than Rich and we can help them with that. So I think for everyone, if you're going into business by circumstance or by choice, either way, the most important thing to do is solve a problem in the marketplace. And if you can solve a problem and make life better for your client, you're gonna be able to do well, and people will pay you based upon how large of a problem that you can solve for them.
Right. Yeah, because that's the whole marketing thing. What is their pain and how can we solve it? Now I like to put a little bit different twist on that because I don't like to think about pain. So it's how can we bring them pleasure? How are they going to go, oh my gosh, this is great. But it's the same concept. What can we do to help them do whatever it is better? And it's kind of the Superman model, or maybe it was $6 million man, make him bigger, stronger, faster. I just gave away my age, right? But yeah, it is, how can we do that? Because what it comes back to is what we were saying at the very start. How can we, as the business owner, do what we want to do in a way that it works the best and gives us time back to do whatever we want with it, and I love that you use your time with your family. And I mean, how many times have we seen people who, you mentioned your dad, love him dearly, but he missed a lot of basketball games. Same with my dad, loved him, but there was a lot of stuff that he missed out on. And was that his choice? No. I mean, he would have been there if he could, but now we do have the capability, okay, back to $6 million man, we have the technology, right? So, why not use it? And I think that's the key thing is, don't be afraid of it, folks. It might seem a little spooky and a little scary, but we trust Siri. Now, that said, Siri loves to put me in places where I'm not supposed to be. She gets really annoyed when I don't always pay attention to her. So I think she goes, yeah, I'm going to fix you. But it is that thing where, we love Siri. We love, being able, even if it's just something like auto dial. I mean, all of those things, we love that. And because we do that, it's freeing us up to do something else.
Exactly right. And that's why you as a business owner just need to know what those priorities are and be reminded that your business is a vehicle for those priorities. And one of the things I'd love to give a gift to anybody. I mentioned the time audit. What I'd love to pair that time audit workbook with, if anyone's listening, this could benefit from having a conversation. I've been doing these recently and I would love to do it for your guests too. I'm calling it a 90-day delegation planning session.
Okay.
And I'm doing this 100% for free to sit down with a business owner who wants to audit their business and audit their tasks to figure out what are the lower value tasks that can get delegated and how might we be able to delegate
Mm-hmm.
them the most efficient way so they
Mm-hmm.
can buy back their time.
Cool.
And so I'll give them the workbook,
Mm-hmm.
and end this free session is about 30 to 40 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and helping them with their
Wow.
business. And they could go to betterthanrich.com
Mm-hmm.
slash 90-day plan. That's 90-day plan.
Mm-hmm.
And when they go to betterthanrich.com slash 90-day plan, that's my calendar right now. That's not
Okay.
going to be forever. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, I'm getting a lot of energy from
Mm-hmm.
having these conversations with these business owners that want to buy back their time, that want to understand
Mm-hmm.
how they can use virtual assistants, or how
Mm-hmm.
can they use team or tech or systems to get a little bit more time
Mm-hmm.
freedom so they could spend that time on what matters
Mm-hmm.
most to them. So again, you'll automatically get the workbook and the session, betterthanrich.com slash 90-day plan.
Cool. And we'll
So
put
I'd
that
love
in
to
the
do
show
that.
notes.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you. Well, oh my gosh, Mike, this has been great fun. And but we've learned, right? I've learned I need to do more of this. Yeah, I need to do more. But it's so fun, and we shouldn't be scared of it, folks. It's here. You can't ignore it. And if you ignore it, you do it at your own peril. Because everybody else is going to use it. So you're going to get run over. And so why not benefit from it? So again, tell us a little bit more about where people find you and what are the services that you provide.
Sure. Well, that link would be the best way to find me
Okay.
directly, because not everyone can get onto my calendar.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm giving that as a gift to those,
Mm-hmm.
that I think would really help as
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing these podcast guesting. But yeah, betterthanrich.com slash 90-day plan. The services that I do offer on the other end of that, if we figure out that there are some low value tasks that we can actually help you with, we'll install our virtual assistant team into your business
Mm-hmm.
and tackle all those tasks for you. If
Mm-hmm.
it depending on the task, if that's something that's within our wheelhouse, and if not, I know they'll get a lot of value from the session. And then we also have our time rich program
Mm-hmm.
under the umbrella of operator to owner, which helps these leaders and these business owners
Mm-hmm.
understand the system side, where they're like, I already have a virtual assistant, but my systems are a complete mess.
Mm-hmm.
We can help them with like our
Mm-hmm.
done for you, done with you services. We have a mastermind group that we run, and we also have a bunch of support, like quarterly
Mm-hmm.
summits. We call them get shit done summits is what they're called. But we hop on Zoom
Mm-hmm.
for 3-4 hours
Mm-hmm.
and actually get stuff across the finish line
Cool.
for these individuals. So again, it just depends on what the business owner
Mm-hmm.
needs. We're usually pretty accommodating. If someone is a high earning business owner that just wants time freedom, they're not like worried about the scarcity. They're not like, oh my God, I have no money. How can I
Mm-hmm.
get time back? Well, if you have no money, then you need to be spending your time. But if you have some cash where you're,
Mm-hmm.
you're a high earner and you're like, I
Right.
have money, I just
Mm-hmm.
really want to buy that time back.
Mm-hmm.
I know we can help you.
I love it. I love it. So much fun. Well, we are at the top of the hour. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
My final thoughts would be, know what season of business, or know what season of life that you're in right now. If you're in a winter season where things are challenging, just know that it's a season. It's not how it is. And I would approach winter with the mindset to know that spring always follows winter. And just right now, weather the storm, and then when spring comes, get ready to plant the seeds. And when spring is there, make sure you're planting the seeds for the crops that you want to harvest in the fall. So if you want oranges, make sure you're planting orange seeds. Apples, plant apple seeds. Summer season, make sure you work your tail off. One thing at a time. Make sure you're really intentional. And fall, reap the rewards of those seeds that you planted, but make sure that you're also protecting yourself against that unpredictable winter that might be coming your way.
Oh my gosh, so much fun. And we have to have you on again, because this is great information for everyone. But until then, I'm Deb Creer. I've been having a great conversation with Mike Abramowitz. See, I got it right that time. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.